In this video, I want to talk to you about how to become a researcher and steps to get a research career. So if you don't know me, I am Professor Dave Massack. I'm Associate Professor of Innovation Strategy and Entrepreneurship. And I create this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There's so many people that help me out that I want to pay the favor for to help you out as much as I possibly can. So this video is probably geared more towards people that are learning to become a researcher and they're thinking of it. So it's probably somebody that is maybe in their 20s or even in their 30s where they're thinking about, I actually want to go into a research career, and how the heck do I actually do that? And hopefully this is going to give you some really good advice and some food for thought in terms of how to actually get a research career and get into it in such a way that it's not going to be overbearing for you. It's going to be very easy for you to actually get into the research career. And so the first thing I think that you need to do is to stop and not just think about I want to become a researcher. I want you to actually think about, what is it that you find interesting in this world? What is it that you find puzzling in your own life? You can walk around and see different things and you're just curious about those things. And if you have that curiosity, I think that's a good sign that that is something that you find interesting and that you want to puzzle about. So, for me, whenever I used to read business books and stuff like that, I couldn't sleep. It'd be something that I'd find terribly interesting, and I wanted to learn more about those kind of things. So that was a good sign that I was interested in this kind of area, is that I just naturally was gravitating towards that. The other thing, so the second thing that I think is really important is not just to identify things that are interesting, but to identify things that are going to be profitable for you to actually go into. I think this is a mistake. This is a fundamental mistake that I think a lot of people make when they go into a research career. I think that, everything is a good thing to sort of investigate. Everything is a possibility. But, yes, that is true. And, ultimately, that's what we're aiming for. But we also have to think about, what are you going to be rewarded, or what are the ways that you're going to be rewarded to actually do this work? And there's lots of things that you aren't going to be rewarded for. So you have to be careful in terms of what you're doing. So I would actually rank order those things. So let's say you come up with 5 different things that you're interested in, and rank order those things in terms of what do you think is going to be the most profitable for you to actually get into. And it's not easy. It's not intuitive to think about this, because you also have to think about supply and demand in terms of, how many people are actually going into that area, and then as well as is there demand for it. So most people are going to be focusing on the demand side and thinking, yeah, there's demand for this thing. It's going to be really nice to get to that area. But you also have to think about how many other people are vying for that spot. And that is really hard to sort of judge, and you have to actually think about how many people are actually wanting to go into that area. So the third thing is to identify the education that you're going to need to actually get into that field and to do something. And I want you to think about the bare minimum education, not what is the best minimum, or what is the best education that you need to get into that, because I think that's a little daunting. And, to get into these fields, you often just need something that's bare minimum to get into it. And then you can start sort of figuring out where you're going to go. The next thing that you have to think about is thinking about how you can do this in a way that is less costly than that sort of tried and true way. What is the way that you can get your foot into the door to explore what you are interested in? So if it is getting, abandoning your current job and going and becoming a researcher, I think that's very costly. And I think that would be a way that it's not going to serve you very well to do that, because you don't actually know whether you like this thing. So what I would do is maybe try to do, research on the side, or puzzle about this thing on the side, and see if you can write things about this thing on the side, maybe at night, or maybe you volunteer during the week, or, you have a day off and you go volunteer at a lab to go do something, or, you do things on your own and you do it yourself. You're going to have to do that anyways once you start getting into the field. So you should think about, is this something that I want to do, even when I'm going to volunteer to do that? I think that's so important to do those kind of things, to identify whether you actually like this. You're going to identify whether you like it or you don't. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to think that I don't like this. And if you're the one person out of the 10 that actually likes that thing, that might be the thing that you should sort of pursue and sort of go a little bit further. The next thing that I would personally do is think about or ask people that are already in the field, how would you approach this problem? How would you actually get into this problem or get into a certain thing, area and do well in that area? So it's important to ask people that are already in that field and approach them and talk to them. So if you want to go into epidemiology, for example, talk to epidemiologists and ask them what their experiences are. And so you want to talk to at least one, preferably if you talk to 2 or 3 that you can interact with, that would be amazing, right? And it's not going to be as hard as you think it is to identify those. Just go into LinkedIn, go onto, education websites, higher education, go into institutions and shoot somebody an email and just say, I'm curious about your career. How did you actually get there? And sometimes people will answer. Actually, a lot of people will answer that, especially if you're coming at it as, just genuine interest and you're curious about it. Then, a lot of people are very nice and they're likely to answer and give you some experiences. Or you just simply say, I don't want to take much of your time. Can I talk to you for 20 minutes? And I just want to talk about the career. And if you do that, chances are you might get into the door. And then as well, the nice thing is that sometimes those people can become, a letter of reference or a mentor or something like that in the future that are going to help you out. So just keep that in mind. Just be genuinely interested. Don't be like pushy and sort of slimy about it. Just be genuinely interested and curious about that thing. The next thing that I want you to do is focus on how you can do all of this to the bare minimum, because you want to reduce the amount of effort that you're going through to actually get it into the field, right? You don't want to go above and beyond and go too much. You want to focus on how can you actually do this in the bare minimum way so you can get into the field, test it, and then, the last thing is to repeat, constantly be repeating. How do I actually get to the next stage? How do I get there? What do I do? What's the next thing? And kind of just keep evolving and thinking about how you're getting to the next stage. And that's kind of what we do anyways in life. And it's a very sort of thoughtful way of minimizing the amount of cost it is to do anything that's sort of a major thing in your change in your life, where you are constantly evolving and going to the next step and going to the next step. And you will do that probably 3 or 4 times in your lifetime. And just know that you just want to sort of do a problem solving process where you're doing it to get into the next, to the next, and constantly be curious about where you want to go. So hopefully this helps you out in terms of actually becoming a researcher and getting some steps into a research career. If you follow these steps, I think it's going to be very useful for you in terms of understanding what to do next. And I think it's very repeatable for a lot of people to do this. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.